You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
9, Friday and Saturday, hot and dry. Lots of sunshine both days with highs very close to 90. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning and welcome into a hump day edition of Inside the Locker Room, 205-342-9904. If you'd like to jump in on the show with us this morning, the X account's at Locker Room 109, at Barry Sanderson, at Wimp Sanderson 1, and our email for the show is wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. Download that app, the Tide 100.9 app, to your smartphone. You can chat with us in the chat box, leave a voice message with us if you'd like to do that, but also listen to all the shows. And you got the Coach DeBoer show will be on tonight, so you'll be able to catch that with the app if you're not in here, where you can listen to, in this area where you can listen to Tide 100.9. Yellowwood, they make this 7 o'clock hour possible. I talk about them each and every day. A lot during this 7 o'clock hours. If you look at the builds on the fence, the deck, the pergola, the 5-star backyard, then there's only one choice. You want to use Yellowwood. Go to yellowwood.com to find a dealer closest to you. And always remember, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, then you certainly don't want it. Good show lined up for you this morning. Dad was able to secure Tom Hart, which is always a great guest at 7:30. We'll talk with Justin at 8 o'clock, find out what's going on out at Tuscaloosa Toyota. Then Bill Cameron, a lot going on with the Auburn, big SEC game down there. They got a new quarterback, so we'll talk to Bill Cameron about this weekend's matchup between the Auburn Tigers and the Arkansas Razorbacks. I believe Arkansas is the number one rushing team in the SEC. Good morning, Chase. Good morning, Dad. How are you guys this morning?
Doing okay. Several things that I want to mention. I'll try to mention them quick and get out of the way. Tom Hart, of course, as Barry mentioned, will be on. Tom's a good friend of mine. I appreciate him kind of being on at a busy time because we finally worked out today at the bottom of the hour. The Braves lose 65. They're 81-70. I think this is very interesting. The Vols athletic director has said that next year he's going to increase the football tickets 10%. That's just a dime on a dollar is all that is, 10 cents on a dollar. And he said that this is to help pay the athletes. He's been I don't know if he's a one step ahead of all the athletic directors, but he's a step ahead of what Tennessee has had in athletic directors for a long time. And so you can you're going to buy your tickets because the Vols are hot. They score a lot of points. They're going to play Oklahoma, a place that he got fired several years ago. Archie Manning, Arch, they call him, is going to be probably the starter at Texas, which is, I guess, news. So we'll see what happens there. Georgia has lost. They're really All-American. I believe he's a tackle or guard. Tate Rutledge, gone for the year with an injury. They've had a bunch. Georgia's had a bunch of injuries. It'll be interesting to see they overcome that against Alabama. Pac-12. Hey y'all, the Pac-12 is not going to be as bad as you think. In name, you're not going to like it, but I can tell you right now, at Fresno State and San Diego State, you get your team together and go out there and play them, you get your fannies beat. They're well coached, so they got those two. Plus the two that are there now, Washington State and Oregon State, and then they've got boys in Colorado State. Colorado State played pretty well the other day. They're not bad. So they've got 6 teams in that league now and hoping to get some more. So we'll see what happens. But they're making a good move. What they have is bad names, good teams. And, of course, you'd like to play, if you're coaching bad names, you like to play, that kind of, you don't like to play that kind of team. So anyway, Florida State and Clemson are trying to renew their talks about revenue with the ACC. My personal opinion is they'll be back in the ACC. They'll come back. Okay, get this one. We didn't say high schools. Georgia, yesterday morning, governor signed a bill saying that they want them to pay players, directly pay players. Pass that rule they can. Did not hit that. Went over all the other stuff that's been said. Now, the NCAA, as you know, is going to lawyer up. They're going to fight it because they got to have a period. They got to have a final thing that you can pay players. If you're going to pay them, you pay them $200 a game or whatever. I'm just making that up. But Georgia Tech and Georgia are already ready to pay them. They got the money ready to go, and they are going to pay players. I kept looking for high schools. I think that the rule means that high schools can get paid, but I don't want to say something. Barry knows more about that than I do because he's a high school guy. Probably your best game Friday night will be Illinois and Nebraska at 7 o'clock on Fox. We're going to have Tim Brando on, who all of you have a problem with. That's the reason I had him on Friday at 7:30. The Masters has added 2 hours to their coverage. Houston got a good 5-star commitment in basketball. Now, remember this, y'all, before I turn it over to Barry. Hugh Freeze recruited Hank Brown to Liberty as his quarterback. And after he left there, he recruited him to Auburn as his quarterback. Is he as good as they say he is? We'll see if the defense can hold them enough to where they can win. So right now, Auburn is 3.5-point favorite. That's it, C.B.
Yeah, going back to the Tennessee thing. So they're doing that with all the sports. So baseball, you buy those tickets. Yep. They put a 10%. They're saying, what is that 10% for? Well, we don't know the exact number, but all these SEC schools are on the hook for around roughly $22 million that they have to pay out to their players. So they're trying to find ways to replace that revenue or, put money in that coffer. So that 10% that you buy those Tennessee football tickets will go into that $22 million. That way they will be able to revenue share. So they have to find other ways. I mean, you can't just take $22 million out of the budget and not try to replace it somehow. So I actually, with the way their basketball team's playing, their baseball team's playing, their football team's playing, if you want to say, you know what, Chase was up there and he says, forget that. I'm not paying 10 more. Then guess what? There's somebody standing right behind you that will buy those tickets.
He'll pay more because he's able to say, I'm helping Tennessee athletics. Now, the other thing that Barry's mentioning is that they're good in most sports. They've got their baseball is good, their football is good, the basketball is good, and they're able to do that. And you are climbing on board. Had that been announced at Florida, you would have had anybody interested in doing so. So the success that they have been able to have to bring a guy in when he came in from South Florida as the athletic director, to bring a person in who everybody was yakking and complaining about, he got fired at Missouri. Well, I'll bring a guy in like that. Has turned his way. And that 10 cents on a dollar is going to be big for everybody.
Yeah, I think back to Jenny's dad had tickets on the 45. I think it was row 21, maybe. Great tickets. We stopped going. So he eventually just said, you know what, we're not going anymore, and he stopped buying the tickets. Well, they had probably 20,000 people lined up to buy those 4 tickets. So I think that. And so now you're like, gosh, we wish we wouldn't have given those away. There's no telling what those things are worth each year. And you'd have 4 tickets for this Georgia. So when you give them up and you're at Alabama or you're at Tennessee the way they're currently playing, then I think you won't ever get them back. You just can't. But my question is, can a school like Auburn do that? Maybe. Can Mississippi State do that? Because it's not hard to get a ticket at Mississippi State. So if they try that model, the guy's going to say,
you can have what I said.
Yeah, but I'm saying, so what it's going to do is it's going to make the elite programs pass these other guys. How do these other schools, Vanderbilt, they can't put a 10%. So
it's always been that way. The way we're paying them now and going to pay them, and now when we turn it loose to where you can pay players and there's no cap on it, then we're going to have a big separation between the Vanderbilts and the Stanfords and the people like that who can afford to do it. Now, at Florida State right now, can you do that? No. You got to be a program that has been a little bit down, a little bit disgusted with them. All of a sudden, they rise to the top. They're playing well in several sports. They want the money. It's a time to get the money because they're hot and they'll get it.
Yeah, you got to look at your season ticket list and you got to look at your waiting list. If you got a waiting list of 20,000 people in football, then you can say, you know what, we can do that. We can go 10% easy. Yeah. If 5,000 people leave us, guess what? We'll have 5,000. We'll have 15,000.
I'd have gone to 20.
Yeah, that want those tickets. So you got to strike while you're hot. Florida, they can't do it right now, but if they go hire some hot shot coach, they could do it. A lot of Kentucky can do it in basketball. I think Alabama can do it in basketball now. There may be some people complaining, but they could do it. They say, hey, you want to give up the seats? Fine. We're going into a new arena here pretty soon.
Oh, all these athletic directors are going to be meeting with the athletic committee. They're going to all jump up now. Not all, but the ones you mentioned are going to jump up, sure.
Yeah. Some guy was complaining to me yesterday. I'm like, dude, look, they've got to find some ways to make up for this $22 million that they're losing. And so this is an easy way to do it right there. And they're going to put money in there, especially Tennessee right now. Tennessee's hot as a firecracker. So they will get all that money and they'll be able to pay these guys, and their roster will stay really good. All right. Well, take this break. We'll up at the phone lines, 205-342-9904. 2-minute truck. They're at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go as you prepare for this local move out of town, out of state, or even if you just need to move stuff around your house. They will sell you boxes, packing supplies, whatever you need in preparation to get ready for this move. Give them a call today. They'll take the stress out of moving. Very easy to remember, 205-247-5050. You give them a call today. They'll email you a quote. They'll set you right up. 2-minute truck. Movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Wednesday morning. The Rhythm and Brews Bar Tavern downtown is now able to raise its occupancy from 240 to 413 customers. The increase was granted last night by the Tuscaloosa City Council. Downtown bar occupancy rates have been a controversy for some time. Rhythm and Brews has one of the largest operating spaces in the downtown area. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Moving with a purpose on the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. We're not seeing any extremely heavy backup. Starting to build up that volume, however, in a couple spots. And that's not even significant. Right now, Skyland at University Boulevard, that intersection, a little slow for you right now.
The Tide Tailgate Show is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors, Skyland Boulevard, Tuscaloosa, and the new location, Highway 280, Birmingham. Online at academy.com. Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today, the high 86 degrees. Mostly clear tonight, the low 65. Tomorrow, sunny with a high at 89. Friday and Saturday, hot and dry. Lots of sunshine both days with highs very close to 90. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9. For more coverage of Alabama football, visit us at Tide100.9.com or download the free Tide 100.9 app.
The Crimson Tide will not be denied.
back to inside the locker room. Yellowwood pressure treated pine from Great Southern Woods. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. So Michael texted me during the breakdown. I didn't realize this, and I'm sure you don't either. Alabama basketball season tickets increased 25% this season, up from 15% increase the previous season. So they're bumping the tickets up when they, you're paying these guys and you're building new practice facilities and all that. So, and I don't know when they've had a big bump like that, but I'm pretty sure they probably have a waiting list now for tickets, which probably hasn't been like that in the past. All right, get to the Yellowwood hotline and we'll get Philip into the show. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, gentlemen. It was the interesting comments there from Coach Sanderson on what Brian Kemp signed yesterday for the state of Georgia as far as paying the athletes there in the state. Also, interesting how Tennessee is handling their situation, paying their players. So it's almost to the point now where these universities better have a person on staff that devotes a fairly good percentage of their work time to making sure that the state legislature is aware of everything that's going on and what might ought to happen in their states as far as making sure that these players are taken care of.
Well, I know we've lost two basketball players. The kid from Buckhorn that was two-time player of the year, back-to-back state championship. He's gone to Georgia to play basketball. I think this may be an Adidas deal that Adidas can pay him when he's playing in Georgia. There's a kid that left, I believe, Thompson High School and went to, I think one's at Grayson and one's at one other school. And so we've already seen some basketball guys leave the state. It got a little bit of publicity, but you start losing some football guys, and then we'll see what these football coaches want to do with it. But we've had some guys jump to Florida, and we've had some guys jump to the state of Georgia already just in basketball.
Right. So for Alabama's standpoint, it's kind of ironic. Saban's over there now. He's got an office, and part of his great interest is in making sure that the federal government can help out, bring some control to the situation. But at the same time, oddly enough, you've got to be proactive in making sure that you don't get left eating dust.
Do y'all think that I'll ask you, and then Philip, you can chime in. Do y'all think Nick Saban should even be involved in this anymore? If he's not coaching, I know he wants what's best for football, but he's not in it anymore. He's not trying to recruit guys. So should he really be up there fighting for this? That, in your opinion, or should he just say, "Hey, that's for the young guys to handle. I'm out of this now"?
You mean in Washington?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you should. I think you need a name there. You need somebody that presents it well, and he does that. He presents things well. So I would say to answer your question, I'm going to Washington to get things better, get a cap on it. I would say yes, he needs to be there.
Bill, you think he needs to be involved in it?
You know what? I just don't think it makes a big difference right now with him doing that. My concern is, like I told you last week, is he's gonna hit the wrong group of politicians. He's going to encounter the wrong pocket of politicians, and they're going to say, "We don't understand why you're not paying them more."
Yeah, and then there'll be people like Mike Griffith that we have on from Dog Nation. He would tell you that he's doing all that to get it fixed because he wants to get back into coaching because he didn't want to deal with that. He thinks if Ohio State,
he's not going.
He thinks if Ohio State has a bad year, that Nick Saban will go to Ohio State.
I'm gonna call him, get him on the show.
Who? Coach Saban? Yeah. Could you? So if they got it all fixed where he knew exactly what he was dealing with, you think there may be a way to get him back in coaching, Philip?
No. No. That guy's crazy for thinking that.
Well, every time he says boo, he's making $100,000.
That's right.
Yeah, but you hear him up there on game day, and he loves to talk about what he would do with his team or how to handle this situation.
Because he's not playing, son.
We've heard all this stuff. The nation hadn't, because we've heard his press conferences for years. So all the stuff he's saying, we've heard all of it. Have you ever seen a guy use as many hand gestures as him, Philip? He talks with his hands. And I think it's just a habit. When he's making a point, he's moving those hands, isn't he?
That's kind of funny to me. Donald Trump is the only other guy that does it.
Yeah. So thank you, Philip.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right, back up to the Yellowwood hotline. We'll get old Cowboy in the show. Hey, Cowboy.
Hey, Barry and Coach.
Yes, sir.
Hey, is there a salary cap on what these players can make?
No.
Well, Tennessee just drove it up with their 10% tax on every ticket in athletic events yesterday that came out. I'm hearing Alabama's probably going to get their new deal, and Tide Pride could be going bye-bye.
Well, that's what the guy was just telling me, that they upped the what you had to pay to Tide Pride in order to buy the ticket. So I'm sure Greg Burns done it already. He just hasn't announced it the way Tennessee did. He probably put an increase on there. He's probably saying, hey, we're going to take part of this increase and put it in this $22 million, where Tennessee was told you what they were doing. Maybe Alabama's already done it, just didn't word it that way.
If you're a Vol fan, 10% is not going to bother you.
Well, if you got a ticket for an Alabama game that's $175, that's going to be $1,750 more to it. So a decent ticket now in a good spot is $200 for a SEC game. That's what Oklahoma's charging for Alabama this year, $200 a ticket.
All right, so $1,750, what you just said, and let's just say there's 100. How many is that stadium seat? 105,000.
Oh yeah.
So that right there, oh man, I just messed that up. It's over. Let's see, $1,750.
That's $1 million, isn't it?
Yeah, times 105,000. You're looking at $1,837,500 that you just generated.
Cowboy, there's one thing you have to remember, Cowboy.
Okay.
That athletic director has to please a lot of people. You can dismiss basketball and football; they're going to be pleased. But the rest of them, ladies at 18 sports, men, he's got to please a lot of people.
Yeah,
and I would think you would. If football brings in X number, then I think that money should go to the football players. If you put a 10% increase on the basketball tickets, whatever basketball tickets you sell, that money should go in towards the basketball players, baseball and vice versa, which baseball would do really well there at Tennessee.
I don't think that's going to happen like that.
But people better hope Donald Trump wins the presidency, because there might be a little more money in your pocket. But if the other candidate, Kamala Harris, and Ken Waltz win, you better rethink these 10% tax increases. Saying now before the election, I might wait till after the election to find these ADs before. But I don't know. But when does this end?
I don't know, but evidently, Tennessee paid a ton for this hotshot quarterback they got now.
Oh, they paid $7 million. $7 million.
So would you say that's probably been a pretty good investment?
Oh yeah, and they paid that in March of 2022. He may have charged them and upcharged himself.
So they're not going to have any problem getting the next quarterback, because it worked, and so they'll be able to go get that guy, because they'll have more than what this guy got. So they'll be able to go get.
They've already got the next guy, George McIntyre's grandson. It was the former Vanderbilt coach.
Yeah, I know George.
Yeah.
So
I wish I could demand this in my job every day. They beat me up like a bouncing bag.
You went there and asked for an extra $10.
10% of your job wouldn't give you about $8 to $10 more a week.
Right. Yeah, they look at me like you crazy.
All right, Cowboy, we're gonna get to We're going to get to Tom Hart.
Well, good talking to you. I almost hit that South Carolina LSU. I had the right winner.
You got a blue plate for that? He needs one. And then people are begging him to go. But I don't know. I haven't even asked him off there why he's doing it on Friday. It's not working.
I might blue plate Tennessee this Saturday. I might blue plate Tennessee.
Blue plate. All right, thank you. And then people are wanting him to go back to Thursday. They don't understand why he changed. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Well, Friday's probably better. Hey, hopefully his ticket's better than mine. I was 4-12 on the NFL last Sunday. The week before, I was 11-5. Tell you, man.
I tell you what. Try this week. Do this week. Just flip a coin and pick the team that wins the flip, and see you'll probably do just as well. Thank you, Cowboy.
All right, thanks, Barry and Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all be good.
Thank you.
I met a lady yesterday that says her daddy, Hub. You know Hub Dotson?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. His daughters plays baseball with Jack. One of her, I guess this is her grandson or somebody plays with Jack. So she said that she would know Hub Dotson. Yeah, so, all right, we'll take this break and we'll get to Tom Hart. You listen to Tide 100.9 at 12:30 a.m. WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Moving with a purpose on the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. We're not seeing any extremely heavy backup. Starting to build up that volume, however, in a couple spots. And that's not even significant. Right now, Skyland at University Boulevard, that intersection, a little slow for you right now. And
you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
Back to Inside the Locker Room. Pressure treated pine from Great Southern Wood. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, he's with the SEC Network, ESPN. Dad, I know another way to make some money. If you put a 10%, just like Tennessee does, put a 10% charge on Tom Hart's Starbucks every day, you can make a lot of money if you added 10% and you put that in the player's bucket.
I'll tell you what, I appreciate Tom being on. Tom is really good. I'm not talking about on his show. He's good on show, but he's good, period. He's good in everything he does. He's good in basketball, he's good in baseball, he's good in all of it. And if he wasn't good, I wouldn't tell him he was bad. I just wouldn't say anything.
No.
And so I wouldn't say, Tom, you're bad, because he quit the show. But he's good. I mean, he did some baseball. He did some Braves baseball. They should have hired him all along. Basketball is good. He's got one goober I don't like.
Tom thinks he should do the Masters.
Well,
not our caller, Tom, not Tom Hart.
Oh well, Well, anyway,
I'm wearing my Masters hoodie right now. I've got the uniform on.
Anytime I call Tom, we try to figure out how he can be on, and he's busy. So anyway, that's enough of that. All right, now Tom, here's a question.
Yeah.
Athletic director at Tennessee's going up 10%. People don't understand that there are a lot of sports that you have to pay. You can forget football and basketball; they're gonna get paid, they're guys. But there's a lot of women's sports and men's sports, and we're gonna have a separation in teams. The Vanderbilts can't keep up with the Tennessees, and the people can't. Stanford's can't keep up with whatever. Pac-10's gone anyway. Are we going downhill in football? Now, you're going in the SEC, we're not, but you're all over the country. Are we going downhill in football rather than uphill? I mean, are we good or bad with football?
Well, I feel like that's a loaded question. I think we're good with football, and I think where football is, I don't want to use the word healthy because I think there are some symptoms that would suggest it's unhealthy. However, it is as popular as it's ever been.
Okay.
Right? That doesn't mean everything is working as it should, or there may not be some issues in the near future. By the way, that's it's not just a 10% increase in ticket prices. It's 14.5% because he levied them with a 4.5% increase before the 10%, player charge. So Tennessee fans are really taking it up the shorts, and you hinted at it. But the reality is that there is plenty of money within the athletic department at the University of Tennessee to pay their football players what they deserve. The problem is they're also paying. If this were a business, they'd be out of business, right? Because they're also paying these other sports that are overspending. I got 3 kids. If I had one kid that was, doing great and getting all their homework done, and I was, paying them, here's $20 to pay your gas and get your Starbucks, or $50 a week, whatever. And they came in every week and did what they were supposed to do and spent their $50. I'd be happy with them. If I had another kid who's spending $90, at some point I'd say, stop. You don't have $90 to spend, and you're not bringing in anything. But that's not how athletic departments work. There was an ESPN writer yesterday on Twitter, I wish I could remember his name, who pointed out he had all the numbers behind Tennessee's football income, and then he pointed out that the softball program was $5 million over and paying their coaches $900,000. Why are you paying a coach is the CEO of a program? Why are you paying a CEO nearly $1 million a year when they're spending $5 million more than they bring in? So anyway, that's my soapbox. Football is perfectly healthy, and the money that those players bring in is getting back to them in a roundabout way, as it should. It's all these other sports that are. It's one thing to support them. It's another thing to allow them to overspend and be responsible for continuing to support them. And we are really close to the fans saying enough is enough. I buy my tickets. I buy my merchandise. I pay for parking. You've asked me to donate over the years. I'm done. I'm tapped out.
Before Barry says something, you can't keep from overspending. If you're Stanford and you've got to go to the ACC with all of your teams and play some kind of sport, volleyball and all, there ain't no way you can't keep from overspending. I mean, you're dead in the water because the changing of the teams in the leagues causes you to do that.
That's fair. That is where we are these days with travel. But it's not just the reorganization of the conferences that allowed these programs that are not revenue programs to start chartering all over the place instead of flying commercial or taking a bus or there are very few checks and balances. They just say, well, they got a charter, I want a charter. Okay, well, you don't make enough money in your program for that. Pac-12 programs as a whole, by the way, when that league existed, they all flew commercial. Forever. They'd fly from LAX to Phoenix to Seattle. It didn't matter. But there's more money to be spent. You guys are going to love this. Speaking of surcharges, hold on.
Good morning. Thank you for choosing Starbucks. What we got for you today?
Hi there. May I have a venti hot vanilla latte, please?
Yeah, for sure. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Right?
Do you tip on that?
Yeah.
Do you tip?
His tip is get another job.
Do you tip?
That's his tip. Get another job.
Latte, that's at least $5 and something. Are you going to tip on that?
No, I will not tip on that today. But if
his tip is put your socks on before your shoes.
We're talking with Tom Hart. Tom, it sounds like this judge with this settlement does not want any cap on NIL. So I ask you, at the end of this season, if things continue to go the way that they are, what is Arch Manning and Ryan Williams worth in college football in the open market? Shouldn't they put their name out there? And I mean, Arch Manning probably won't because of his family, but shouldn't he put it out there? Or if he has some kind of agent, shouldn't they see kind of what they're worth and what are they worth? Two hot shots like that.
Well, they're worth whatever the market would with Bear, right? Like I can go look up my home's value on Zillow and say, okay, well, my home is worth X. But if somebody really wants to move into my home and be in the school district and they're desperate, then the value of my home goes up. There are a lot of programs that would love to have Ryan Williams that would absolutely overpay for him. So, or overpay based on, however we want to think about it. But it's not overpaying if they're willing to pay.
Is there any guardrails they can put in place that would stop that? No, because, yes, there are guardrails they could put in place, and that would be to collectively bargain. It's a challenge to collectively bargain, by the way, because who are you bargaining with? Because the players turn over every year, right? And I think that's some of the confusion with this judge is it's understandable. It is understandable to some extent that she says, hey, listen, I don't think you can cap it. By the way, it's antitrust to cap what someone can earn. Yeah. So you can't cap what they can earn via NIL. And the NCAA has come back and said, but we've already bargained this. We've already come to agreement with this party. Well, who is the party? What are they responsible for? Are they responsible for the next, for the kids that are eighth graders now? How can they have their rights bargained away when they're, 5 years from coming to school? So I think that's where I get really confused by it. And I think maybe, unless you give these, like Ryan Williams comes to Alabama, he's got a 2 or 3 year deal. Of course, he's going to want to renegotiate if he plays really well. If he plays like the quarterback at Florida State, they're going to want to cut you. By
the way, to your point, and maybe I shared this with you guys before, last basketball season, as I made my rounds through the SEC and just kind of, BSing with coaches at shoot around and whatnot, to a man, all of the coaches complained about roster churn, right? Everybody had 7, 12 new guys, depending on who you were, and everybody complained about it. And I said, okay. I said, let me just give you a hypothetical. If I could guarantee you the same roster stability that you had before the open transfer policy, but it would cost you 33% of your budget, would you do it? And by 33% of your budget, I mean 33% of your pay, 33% of your assistant's pay, 33% of your travel budget, across the board. And they all looked at me and said, you know what? I can deal with re-recruiting guys every 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's collectively bargaining and saying, I need my roster to have more stability. I need to take that right away from the player. I will pay for that right. Or vice versa, from a player perspective, I'll take more money if that means that I have to stay at this school for, 3 years, then I'll bargain that. I'll shake hands on that and make a deal.
Yeah. That.
I don't want to ask you who you think is going to be in the 12 because you hate that and you don't know and I don't either.
No.
I will give you this, though. Speaking of the 12, just real quick, I went to Texas last week and did the mock selection with Ward Manuel, the athletic director of Michigan, who's the committee chair, and Rich Clark, who runs the college football playoff. And there are some surprises, I think, that are going to pop up when this thing finally gets announced and gets It's one thing to know who the top 12 teams are. It's another thing to take number 12 and bump them out for the group of 5. And then it's altogether another thing to end up with, say, an ACC champ or a Big 12 champ that's also outside of the top 12, and then bump number 10 out, and not only include that champ. For example, in our mock, it was Arizona, and they were ranked 14th in the country. Drop that guy out and put that champ at the 4 seed. So there's going to be a lot of inequalities with this bracket that people aren't necessarily aware of.
One of the things that's happening is the athletic directors are waiting to see the mood and the ideas of the committee in order to continue to make their future football schedules. I know the athletic director. I'm not speaking for. I better not speak for any athletic director, but I think they are, because they're looking to see if strength of schedule and the non-conference schedule plays a part in a guy getting in at number 10 or 11 or 12. And I think that's important. Yep. You've got to have a big game, and Alabama has a big game at home in order to draw your fans, Ohio State or Notre Dame or somebody like that, to buy their season tickets with one game. So I think they're looking at that. I think people are going to be surprised about the committee. Just as you said, the committee is going to fool some people, and it's going to be kind of more so tricky. I didn't want to ask the question because we don't want to name the teams. We don't know enough, but I think it's going to be tricky to find out how they decide on those 12.
I agree, and the problem that they have the corner they've backed themselves into is when this happens, they are going to, and by the way, they are focusing on the term that it is not the most deserving team, it is the best team. I think that puts you in a bind, because how do you define that? Like we've seen plenty of rosters that were better than other rosters, but the game turns out differently, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're not doing it based on recruiting rankings, you're not doing it based on NFL draft rankings. Who's beating who on any Saturday? I think going forward, strength of schedule is going to matter a ton, because I think the hair splitting between, say, seed 7 through 11 is going to be so finite that, the difference of one game, 1 point on the strength of schedule, one data point will be enough to get one team in over another. And those athletic directors and coaches are going to go, whoa, okay, well, we got left out because we wanted that automatic W against Delaware State, and we dropped that series against Ole Miss.
So best goes ahead of not most deserving.
Yes. Yeah, best goes ahead of most deserving. And these are according to the rules that have been put in place. So there are going to be people who yell and scream about the selection committee because it seems unfair in some ways, but these are the restrictions that were put on them by the presidents who drafted the rules for the committee, or the commissioners, I should say, who drafted the rules for the committee.
Okay. Good stuff.
We're talking with Tom Hart. Tom, I thought that was very Bush League, what Wake Forest did. You play a home and home, right. You go play there, and then they're counting on that home game the next year to sell all the tickets, and now you buy out of the game. And then maybe they're going to say, well, they're not going to playoff anyway. But for future scheduling, and then do it this late a date to try to find. Now, what does Ole Miss do? They're going to have to go buy some 1AA team. I guarantee you now, athletic directors across the country are looking at that. I hope Alabama, when they've already gone to Wisconsin, I hope that buyout's about $10 million. I would up that buyout on those home and home, especially if I'm the back leg of the home and home. That was Bush League by the athletic director Curry at Wake Forest, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
I agree with you 100%. I'll add a couple more elements to that. Number one, as of now, Wake Forest still hasn't spoken of it. They haven't put out a release. He hasn't made a comment on it. It was Kiffin who mentioned it to the media after the game.
Yeah.
But Wake has been signed, which is another element of just trying to run around the corner and hide. I watched that game. I don't know if you saw it. By the way, and I used to live in Winston-Salem.
So did
Wake
I.
Forest football does not draw. They never have, right? Like Carolina plays there. State plays there. Yeah, Clemson goes there. They sell some tickets. Ole Miss fans sold the building out. It was red and blue all over that stadium. I would venture to guess, I don't know what the numbers would be. Wake Forest made so much stinking money off that game that the $1 million they got to pay to buy out of the game at Ole Miss is a fraction of what they made by getting the Ole Miss fans to come to Winston-Salem.
Yeah.
So that's another part of it. And by the way, strength of schedule is not just how good is the team you're playing, it's how good their opposition is. So even if Wake, it's not a stretch to presume that Ole Miss will be a playoff contending team next year. So Wake's strength of schedule, even if Wake is a 500 team in the ACC, is going to be dozens of spots better than whoever they get to fill that.
Yeah.
And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt Ole Miss if they're in the discussion for an at-large spot for the playoff, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was bad.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get your thoughts on Auburn. What's happening down there? I talked about a lot last week. I get frustrated when I hear Hugh Freeze after they lose say, "Well, we called a great play every play but one." Like, he doesn't ever take responsibility and say, "Hey, I got to coach them better." They've changed quarterbacks down there. They got a humongous game this weekend with Arkansas. Just your thoughts on what's going on in Auburn.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. This Arkansas game is huge.
Yeah.
Because we all know that the middle of the pack in the league is where you really, that's where those wins is where job security comes from, and it's where momentum comes from. And if you lose to Arkansas, who by the way, knew what they needed to do at the quarterback position, went out, got the guy that they needed, and bettered their program. And what did Auburn do in the offseason? What did they do with that position? They were sitting on 11, and instead of doubling down, they just sat and said, well, maybe the other guy will go bust. And that's on the coaching staff. So he can complain about one play a game all he wants, but the reality is that, they dealt their hands in the offseason based on how they handled that position, and that's why they're. And here's I think Barry, one thing that I don't know. Coaching staffs certainly aren't perfect when they evaluate players in the course of a season, and should we go to the backup quarterback or not? Sometimes there are inherent biases in, well, he's our first stringer, or he's who we invested in, or he's who we think will be best long term. But they want to play the best player to give him a chance to win.
Yeah.
Obviously, the second string guy has not performed in practice to this point to earn that opportunity until now. So what does that tell you? That to me, that suggests that they're in a hole at that position, and it's probably not going to get much better. So if Arkansas pulls that out this weekend, holy smokes, that'll be a whole bag of hurt for them.
Yeah.
Well, is the reason that you're on this show is because Barry and I ask such good questions, and you can get coffee while you're telling the answer?
100%. My wife said, "What time are you going on?" I said, "You sit at the kitchen table and wait." I said, "No, they don't mind. I'm gonna go ahead and get in the car, and I'm gonna drive around town."
Are you still in line? Have you gotten that?
No, he's got
latte yet? Or,
I got my coffee. I'm driving around.
He's been slurping it.
Do you use the app?
Yeah.
Do you pay? Surely you use the app. You got to get the points, right?
Oh yeah.
How many points you got, Tom?
I don't like to share my personal information, but
you got a lot.
I'm gonna try to pay my mortgage with my Starbucks points.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Tom, we appreciate it, my man. You're awfully good.
We probably won't have. Well, I wish we'd have you on next week. But who wins this Alabama-Georgia game before you go? Hypothetically.
Before Georgia had these issues on the offensive line, and Tate Ratledge, their best offensive lineman, is out for the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah,
might be having tightrope surgery. I would have said Georgia in a heartbeat. But the way I love the way Kalen DeBoer is using Jalen Milroe. It's reminiscent of some of the great running quarterbacks he's had. It's less Michael Penix and more some of the guys he's had further back in his career, and using them with the run game. Alabama, I don't know. I don't know, but I know I would have said Georgia without hesitation prior to the Kentucky performance, and specifically the inconsistencies and injuries on the O-line.
Well, we're having Tim Brando on Friday. He doesn't have Alabama ranked in the top 15.
That's right. I had him on.
And so he told Dad that because Georgia is going to kill Alabama.
Yep.
So he's looking into the future. So we're going to have to get him on and beat him up.
Think we'll have any callers?
Beat him up a little bit on Friday.
You might. Listen, Brando's a Pac-12 guy now, or Big Ten, or Big 12, whatever game.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. He's too busy with those lesser leagues.
There you go.
That's right. You don't want to admit it. He thinks they're real strong. I didn't even think that because I want him on the show. I don't do him like I do you.
Yeah, don't argue with him until he gets on the air. That's good radio.
All right, Tom. Enjoy that latte.
All right, fellas. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You know, Barry, and looking at blue plates, I think it's a game that maybe the Boston College, Michigan State, it really interests me a lot. That's not many games that interest me, but 6.5 at Boston College, that game kind of interests me.
Yeah, you like that one? But you need to pick it tomorrow. Whatever game you pick it tomorrow. Your Friday's not working. All right, we're going to take the break here. We'll get back. We'll find out what's going on at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You listen to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. It's a Thursday edition. We'll have recruiting, and then it'll be all things offense with Alabama. We'll look at what Nick Sheridan had to say. We'd love to get you in on the conversation on the Empowerment Strategy and Solutions Hotline. That's 205-342-9904. Or join us on the live stream, and you can add your thoughts, your questions, and your comments there. You're listening to Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier right here on your home for Alabama Sports, Tide 100.9 and 1230 a.m.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, and it is the same song, different verse. We are still traveling nice and pretty smoothly around the area. Now, I do see where 43 is starting to build the volume on the southbound lanes to McFarland Boulevard. McFarland and Lurleen Wallace still nice and smooth.
Oh, good. It'll leave her speechless.
I'm Tom Osmond, your jeweler at Fincher & Osmond Jewelers. Not so easy to find on McFarland, between Edgar's and local routes.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
News from the NFL, where the Miami Dolphins placed quarterback Tua Tagovailoa on injured reserve, meaning he'll miss at least the next 4 games as he recovers from a concussion. In baseball, the Mets beat the Nationals 10-1, while the Braves lose to the Reds 6-5. So Atlanta is now 2 games back of both the Mets and Diamondbacks for the last wildcard spot in the National League. Twins over the Guardians 4-1. Tigers beat the Royals 3-1 in 10 innings. Detroit remains a game and a half back of Minnesota for the final wildcard spot in the American League. Cleveland still holds a 5-game lead on Kansas City for first in the AL Central. 10 innings for the Astros to edge the Padres 4-3. San Diego, though, still 3.5 back of LA in the NL West because the Dodgers lost to the Marlins 11-9. Yankees all over the Mariners 11-2. Seattle's 4.5 back of the last wildcard spot in the American League.
Like David, fight the IRS and get a fresh start.
800-908-3084. That's 800-908-3084.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. Allstate Insurance agent Andrew Kniffer. Andrew is my insurance agent. Let him become yours. He's at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. I had a deal yesterday. I had a question about some of my car insurance. I dial him right up. He takes care of everything right there for me. He can do the same for you. 205-722-9201. Look for home, life, auto, whatever you need. He'll find the best deal possible for you. Andrew Kniffer, Allstate Insurance. All right, get to the Andrew Kniffer hotline and go out to Skyland Boulevard, and we'll talk a little Tuscaloosa Toyota with Justin Troll. Good morning, Justin. How are you?
Morning. Man, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're good. We're I don't know, we're about a little over the middle of the month. How are we doing sales-wise this month so far here in September?
Really doing good. I don't have the number this morning because I've been out of town, but we have started off to a strong month, look to push and be in somewhere in that 300 range like we always are, and we're well on our way to doing that. It's because of the great deals that Tuscaloosa Toyota and Toyota in general have going right now with a lot of rebates. And so if you are driving a Tacoma truck, if you are driving a Tundra, there are thousands of dollars in rebates. If you have one of those vehicles or a 4Runner, Land Cruiser, anything like that, there are some rebates out there right now that Toyota has never done. So if you have if you have one of those vehicles that are titled to your resident and you want to trade and get another one, there is so many rebates, thousands of dollars, and special financing right now. So if you are in the market for a Tundra or a Tacoma, we really haven't seen a better time to buy one with the way they're reducing the price through rebate.
All right, dumb that down for me. Tell me how the rebate works. Tell me how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you say, for instance, you're interested in a Tundra and you got like a Land Cruiser or you have a 4Runner, if you have a Tacoma currently or a Tundra currently, Toyota's providing not only the special financing with crazy rates in comparison right now, but you also get like an extra $2,000 off the price of the truck before we ever discount it. And then that does not include the discount that we give you, which right now we're discounting stuff and we're rolling them out because we're setting ourselves up the way it works. The more you sell, the more cars you get, and that's why we stay stocked at Tuscaloosa Toyota, because we sell a lot, so we get a lot. And so Toyota's running all those rebates right now to get you the best price. And so that's what's going on right now. A bunch of rebates. And that's just for, Tacomas and Tundras. But there's other rebates and incentives across the board, special financing on things like Corollas, Camrys, RAV4s, just a whole bunch of stuff that, it'd take us an hour to get through everything.
Yeah. Also, you got, when people trade in, you guys got great pre-owned options there. When, sometimes you go buy a pre-owned car, you're not 100% sure what you're getting there. But you guys, like, as you talk about, you get a blank check and go through with a fine-tooth comb. So, if you get something there that you're getting something that's been thoroughly checked out.
Yeah, we put the Carfax up front. We show you the service ticket with every single thing that was done to the car. So it runs through our shop. Gets a lifetime warranty. What kind of easiness can you feel when you're driving it off the lot knowing this car has been serviced from the ground up, checked over, and we put our warranty on it. So you just can't beat that. And then I do want to bring your attention to something that's coming up next month that we need to go ahead and start talking about, and that's the buy three, get one for $1 tire sale. You can't beat that deal anywhere if you're close, to needing tires or maybe you need tires and can make it another couple weeks. October, buy three, get one for $1. You just cannot beat that deal right now, and we'll have it rolling in 2 weeks.
That?
Not anything. That's pretty much covered it all for me.
Yeah. All right, Justin. You got a pick on this Alabama-Georgia game next week, or you got a blue plate for Dad this week?
I wonder, does Wimp know what the line on that game is? Have they released the line yet, or wait? I know that Georgia's. I saw where their best lineman is out for 4 to 6 weeks with an ankle. So, I know that's tough, and I know we've probably got a guy or two out. I know their quarterback got dinged up a little bit, but I'm sure they'll be good to go. And we've had their number, but I don't know. I'd love to see what the line is when it comes out.
I have no idea. I haven't seen the line on it yet.
I'm sure that you can find one. I think the summer it was around Georgia, around 5. I think that'll go down now after watching Alabama play. So we'll see. Does
Wimp does he studied up and he have one? I know he'll have one for this week.
He's studying, but we're trying to get him to do it on Thursday. He's been wanting to wait an extra day, so I think he's over. Sometimes you can study too much, Justin. I think he's
well in the first. Looking at lines, if he's hit any of them or 2 or 3 of them in these first 3 weeks, then he's doing good because when I look at them, they tough.
Well, I hadn't.
No.
How's Doug Bell doing?
3-6.
Oh yeah.
3-6. So
yeah, Doug ought to think about whatever is in his mind. Just take the opposite.
But Doug is convincing. When he tells you why he chose what he chose, it sounds good. You ever met people like that? What they tell you, they're convincing, but then they're not often right. You ever met anybody like that?
Well, obviously yes, but
don't say their name. Don't say their name. Well, Justin, we'll let you get back to work, but we appreciate you guys. I know you got great trucks, great cars, great SUVs. Anything you want out there at Tuscaloosa Toyota, you guys are easy to deal with. So get out there and sell you some vehicles.
Appreciate you guys and look forward to next week.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. They really do have an outstanding website there where you can do it all right there at the website. I think Tom Hart, I know I've harped on this, but Wake Forest buying out of that game, so they've gone over there. Wake Forest gets all the money from those tickets. They're going to pay $1 million, I think it was. They haven't said a word about it. Now, Ole Miss is going to have to take that $1 million and buy somebody. And he said, well, that's $1 million they didn't have. Well, they're going to get probably a lesser opponent because nobody good's going to want to go into Ole Miss right now, especially with this new playoff system. Who do they get? Probably a 1AA. I mean, I'm sure one of these 1AAs would go in there and take a beating for, close to $1 million or maybe less than that. But that is, I wonder what the buyout is on that Wisconsin return. If I was athletic director, I would make sure that thing would sting if I was on the back end of that home and home, wouldn't you?
Yeah, probably so. I don't know. They are returning the game, that's for sure. But it's a complicated deal. I'm kind of avoiding answer to your question because I don't know. But I just don't think that people realize the money. They continue. Even our callers continue to talk about how much money all these really elite teams have. But you've got whether they overspend or not, you've got to keep them in business. You've got to keep rowing in business. You got to keep volleyball in business. You got to keep soccer in business. And they all eat. And it is a very, very difficult thing. You can forget football and basketball. They're going to get their deal. I just don't think that we realize the problems that these athletic directors have. I was around it a lot, knowing what we know, because we had problems doing things that we wanted to do with $15 a month. So we'll see.
Yeah, all right, we'll take the break here. We'll get Bill Cameron in, and we'll turn our attention to the game down there on the Plains, find out what's happening with the Auburn Tigers and their quarterback situation, all that. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Oh, not such a quiet ride right now as we are in the heart of your rush to work. We've got McFarland Boulevard. You're tapping on those brakes in between Watermelon and 43. And speaking of 43, southbound lanes onto McFarland. That's got a long red line that'll cost you a solid back to Flatwoods Road. And then we've
visit us at 3537 Skyland Boulevard East or online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Crimson Tide Today is presented on Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230 by BMW of Tuscaloosa. Online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. Its daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by Conecuh Sausage, a true Southern flavor since 1947 and the official smoked sausage of the Crimson Tide. Order online at ConecuhSausage.com. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. As Alabama football enters its first open date of the season, here are some thoughts from Crimson Tide head coach Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, I mean, great players, great coaching staff around you is always what makes it all go. People who are comfortable being alongside with you in these big games and these big, we'll get an SEC play. They're all going to be big, and so the players make plays, and it's our job to just continue to put them in the best spot, help them continue to gain confidence. Remind them that the preparation is what's going to lead to their success, and just a belief in what we do, how we do it. That's to me football. That's how you're successful in anything, and so that's what we'll do here with the bye week. Use a couple days here to just relax as far as like kind of decompress a little bit.
I'll have more in moments.
Favorite jeans, favorite shirt. Got Conecuh sausage and I'm firing it up. Yeah, everybody knows how I get my grill on. You can smell that flavor up and down the road. It's a little taste of heaven, and everybody knows. That's how I get my grill on. Conecuh sausage. It's just a little taste of heaven.
Join us tonight for Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show, live from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa starting at 6 p.m. Central. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by Conecuh Sausage. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Back to Inside the Locker Room. Get right up here to the Yellowwood Hotline. He's with ESPN 106.7 The Drive, Monday through Friday down in Auburn, Opelika 4 to 6. Joins us every Wednesday, Bill Cameron. Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Hey, Bill. Hey, Barry. Well, how are you guys?
We're good. Go ahead, Dad.
The quarterback that Coach brought in from Liberty, that he signed at Liberty and then brought on over to Auburn. Is he good enough to overcome the poor defense that I thought Auburn would really be good defensively, because I have so much respect for the defensive coaches. They've been so good in past. Is he good enough to overcome the defense, or can the defense stop Arkansas? And this kind of a double question. Talk about that with our listeners.
Yeah, if the Auburn defense plays the way they did in the first half against New Mexico and California, I don't know. Hank Brown is I don't know that he's a guy that's going to be able to put a team on his shoulders and carry him. I think he's a talented passer. Arkansas is definitely going to put more pressure on him. Right. And Hank's the guy that had committed to Liberty. He never did sign there. I mean, he committed to Liberty, and then when Hugh took the Auburn job, Auburn offered him, and he came. He's an interesting young guy. We got a chance to talk to him yesterday. He's pretty confident in his ability to throw the ball, and said he was looking forward to the challenge. He's going to have a challenge. I guarantee you, Travis Williams is going to throw an awful lot at him, and we'll see. But no, the Auburn defense got to play better than they played in the first half of the last two ball games, or it's going to be very difficult. What's been really interesting is, I mean, they've made adjustments at half and played a lot better in the second half. Yeah. And the philosophy, or the what they did last week, and we saw it against Cal as well, was go with a three-man front, and not really, they weren't really able to pressure the quarterback at all with that three-man front, and the New Mexico was able to run against them. Even Hugh Freeze said, you're not going to be able to stop a running game with that three-man front. You're not going to be able to stop Arkansas with a three-man front. So I'm expecting to see Auburn change some things up. But yeah, it's been a little disappointing, especially the first halves, the last couple of weeks defensively.
And before Barry gets on it, at Alabama, the head coach stays away from the defense. He doesn't coach them at all, and he turns it loose. Does Coach, does he kind of get in with the defense if they're not doing well? He's kind of an eye guy to start with. Does he handle the defense? Does he get in the defense, or is he strictly offensively?
Well, he didn't. He hasn't yet. So I mean, I don't expect him to really do that. No, he's an offensive guy, and he's left it up last year. You know, he left it up to Ron Roberts, and this year he's leaving it up to DJ. So we'll see. I mean, some folks are wondering, you know, has Auburn held some stuff back? I don't know, because I'm with you. I'm a little surprised the defense hasn't been a little better up to this point. I don't think they're uber talented up front by any means, but they ought to be better than what we've seen the last couple of weeks.
How does Auburn defend how good do they defend the run? Arkansas, one of the best rushing teams, averaging almost 7 yards a carry, 6.6 yards a carry there. Just kind of how has Auburn done against the run so far this season?
Well, I mean, it's funny. I mean, they've been pretty good, but they've given up some big plays. But I think part of that's been because of that the 3-2 that 3-2-6 sort of look that they've been playing, a 3-3-5 or a 3-2-6, and they've been dropping their defensive ends more into pass coverage. They're going to have to; those guys are going to have to be a much bigger part of the run stopping. And Bobby Petrino does such a good job of showing you what appears to be an obvious running formation and then hitting some big pass plays off of that. So, yeah, that's going to be critical. I tell you what, it's two teams that have, you know, when Auburn's run the ball, they've been pretty darn good too. I think they're averaging 7 yards a rush too. They just haven't really run it as much until last week, and it was a little surprising that Jarquez Hunter last week, that was the first time he's ever had 20 carries in a game. So I think both teams are going to have to be making yards on the ground, put themselves into better passing situations, especially Auburn. I mean, Hank Brown is he's probably the least, I wouldn't say athletic, but has probably the slowest wheels of the Auburn quarterback group, whereas Taylor Green is a guy that Auburn's really got to be concerned with as far as the part of the running game as well.
How has Peyton Thorne handled this publicly? I think I heard maybe he was coaching Hank on the sideline some during the game. Has he handled this change? Has he handled it pretty well?
Yeah, as far as I can tell, I mean, he looked good. I watched last week on the sideline just to see what was going on, and he was one of the guys over there welcoming the offense back in after they had success, because I think Auburn scored their first few possessions. They scored touchdowns in the second half, especially. And Hank talked about how good Peyton has been. Hey, Peyton wants the job. There's no question about that. But he's handled it well. He's a team captain, and I think that's something that he has shown. He's a team player. It's something that's getting at him, and he'd love another shot to get back out there. And if Hank struggles, I think he will. But Hugh's more a one quarterback type guy. He'd rather be. So until Hank really struggles, Peyton's going to be called on to help and coach and everything from the sideline.
Yeah, that.
Athletic director, and I never want to fire coaches, but your athletic director, I visit with him some because he's a couple of things he was asking me to do, and I think he's sold on Hugh as far as being a recruiter. He hadn't indicated to me about anything else, but are things safe there with Arkansas and Oklahoma coming in? Are things safe for him? Because there's not any much other direction they can go. They've got to kind of stay with him, don't they, with Coach Freeze?
I would think but you're right about. I mean, you look at this situation and it's crazy. I mean, Auburn loses to Arkansas, and I mean, you could see the possibility of things really falling off, because you said Oklahoma's next, and then you go to Athens and you stay on the road for the month of October. I mean, this is it's not just an important ball game. This could be a critical ball game. I mean, as far as showing that you're making that kind of step. And one of the things we talked about heading into the season, I think we talked about it here, was that Hugh Freeze needs to show that there's there's consistency as well. He has had, in the past, he's lost some ball games where he's been a favorite. I'm sure you guys saw the stat that was posted last week that, heading into the New Mexico game in his last 18 games as a head coach, he'd been a double-digit favorite 9 times and lost 5 of those. So that's the kind of thing that obviously the AD and the fan base notice that. It's like you've got to win the ball games you're supposed to win, and then hopefully pull off one of the other ones. Arkansas is a game that I think heading into the season, Auburn people felt like, hey, we ought to have a good chance. There were so many people already looking ahead to Oklahoma. And boy, you do that, you've got a chance of being 2-2 heading into that Oklahoma ball game. So yeah, this is pretty close to, if not nothing but a must win this weekend.
Yeah, that California loss, man, that stings. When you got Arkansas and Oklahoma, and then like you said, the next 3 games are on the road at Georgia, number 2, at Missouri, number 7, and then at Kentucky. Just played Georgia to a 1-point game. Yep. It may be a while before you taste victory if you don't get this done. So I would think the line's kind of fluctuated around. It was at 3 yesterday. It's back up to 3.5 today.
That just pretty means that pretty much just means they see it as a toss up, because that's your home field usually.
Did they go after quarterbacks and couldn't get them? We had somebody on our show today that felt like maybe that, where Arkansas went after a quarterback and got one, the Green kid, that Auburn didn't seem to go after one. Were they more satisfied with what they had? I'm not knocking them. I'm just asking.
I'm pretty sure they went after Cam Ward, but that got into a seriously high bidding deal. So he's a guy they went after. They've been very interested in Grayson McCall a couple of times, but he's struggling a little bit right now. So I really think, and we talked about it a little last week, I really think that this is one where Hugh Freeze sort of put his he walked out there on that limb, and he put everything he had there on Peyton Thorne being able to make that step with the improved players around him, with the receivers and adding a couple of guys on the offensive line. And right now it looks like he better now he's waiting to see if one of the guys that he brought in that's a younger player is going to be able to do it, because Peyton reverted back to the Peyton that we saw last year when he didn't have talent around him.
Just your thoughts about this SEC. I just don't, maybe it's the portal. I'm asking people, why are these teams, like Dad's trying to pick these blue plate specials, and honestly, you don't know what these teams are going to do one week to the next. Other than, I think Texas has been pretty consistent. We'll see about Tennessee this weekend. They haven't, I guess maybe NC State, they beat them pretty good, but LSU's up and down. Alabama has a scare against South Florida. You look at Georgia, you think they're going to go to Kentucky and steamroll them. They win by 1. You don't know what's going to happen one week to the next. Is that because of the portal, Bill, in your opinion?
I think that's part of it. I don't know that it's all of it. There's so many new faces at different places that I wonder about the chemistry at a lot of the schools. You don't know that everybody's on the same page everywhere, and it's really tough if you don't have a group that's sort of been through it a little bit. I think it seems easier to get caught up in how good or how bad you are and see those kinds of swings from week to week. But you're absolutely right. I do think the portal has helped. It's funny. We talked about how it has the opportunity to help teams at the top level. I think it's helped the FCS or some of the smaller schools, the non-Power 4 schools. I think they've gotten some players in that perhaps were at some of the bigger schools and not getting enough playing time. And it's helped schools like, when you see Toledo just do what they did to Mississippi State, things like that. I think some of those schools have been able to add some better players. They may lose their best player, but they may be able to get a few more players that have come from bigger programs to come in and help them.
Tennessee made an announcement, and I think other schools have done it. They probably just didn't announce it the same way that Tennessee did, which I think the way Tennessee did it is probably smart, saying 10% of the tickets are going to go to the players for money. I'm sure that'll go towards that $22 million that they're supposed to pay. I know Alabama basketball's increased their ticket prices, but they haven't said that's for the players. You look at, if you have 105,000, that's about 1.8 million a game there in football. I think can Auburn do that right now? Can they put a percentage on that increase? Tennessee can because they're so hot. Alabama probably can. Missouri maybe right now. I would think Texas can. Where does Auburn stand? Could they do that right now and get away with it?
Yeah, it's a good question. We had a couple of people asking that yesterday, and I said, I pretty much expect everybody to follow suit and do that. It's easier when you're winning. Obviously, there's no question about it.
Basketball can certainly do it, couldn't they?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I don't think there's anybody that's going to be surprised that see the ticket prices increase anywhere. So no, I mean, it makes sense. I was just doing, I'm just doing a little simple math yesterday. It's like somebody said, well, look at Tennessee. They're having to do that. I said, Tennessee's not having to do that. Tennessee's doing it because they can. And it's an easy way. You do the math with, if you're selling 70,000 season tickets at full price, because you're going to save some for the visitors, some for students. But if you're selling 70,000 season tickets and the season ticket say is around $500, that 10% is $50. Do the math. That's $3.5 million extra that you have right there for NIL. So no, I would expect just about every school to follow suit, whether they say it's going to be a talent fee and going to go to NIL or not.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's happened in Tennessee is going to cause problem. Well, it is for the guy at Florida, maybe even Hugh Freeze, that Josh Heupel went in there. And of course, he turned that thing so fast. It was a dumpster fire. And so everybody now thinks you're supposed to be able to do that. It's a lot of luck that comes with that as well. And I mean, a lot of hard work, but he has turned that program quick. So that puts the pressure on these other guys to turn it quick as well, because Tennessee's done it.
Oh yeah, I mean the expectation is now with the transfer portal that you should be able to get things turned around. That's one of the things that when I'm talking about how important this one is, and that Auburn needs to show that they're making that step forward. They can't go on a slide right now. They can't afford to go on that slide. They've got to win this one. I mean, boy, you've got a situation where Sam Pittman's trying to get to 500. He's 25 and 26 overall. I mean, there's some heat there. So everywhere, yeah. I mean, everywhere you got to win, and then you need to show that you can sustain or be moving up.
But don't we see sometimes that fan base down at Florida, they think their job's better than what it actually is, in my opinion. I just don't. For some reason, I guess Urban Meyer did well after Spurrier there, but Gainesville's okay. You're fighting a lot of schools there in that state for players. I don't see Lane Kiffin going to Florida. So when you fire, you got to hire. So you're going to fire this guy paid $26 million. Who can they realistically get that the fan base is going to be happy about, Bill?
We were talking about that yesterday and pretty much came to the same conclusion. There's no reason for Lane to leave Ole Miss right now.
Yeah.
Where, they could be building statues to him for him there. And if he goes to Florida and has the same kind of record, does the same thing that he's doing at Ole Miss, it's still not going to be enough. So I really don't know, but the problem with Billy is you mentioned Urban. Billy's now lost 6 games at home in 2.5 years at Florida. That is more home games than either Urban or Steve Spurrier lost at home in their careers. So that's what the Gator fans are looking at right there. So I'm sure there's some really good guys that go out and get. I don't know who they're going to be able to find that's going to be a bigger name or more highly thought of than Billy Napier was when they hired him.
Yeah, if you're hired right now, it's because like if you got a really, really good job, like these guys are in the playoff, you can't hire them. It's a while before you can hire those guys if you're going to pluck somebody away. And you got to win the press conference, and I don't know where you go to do that these days, Bill.
No, you're right, but we were talking about how critical it is for Auburn and Arkansas this week. If Florida doesn't win in Starkville, Are they going to win again? I mean, look at their schedule.
It's brutal.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's brutal.
So when I say 10 cents on the dollar, that doesn't mean much, does it? I try to tell everybody how cheap that was. It's, for Tennessee to do that, just 10 cents on the dollar. And then you throw that $3 million on me, it stirred me up.
Well, it's, well,
it adds up
I
pretty
think
quickly.
somebody said the Alabama ticket was $175. Well, they're going to have 110,000, whatever that place seats. So just do the math. That's $1,750 a ticket right there. So just that right there is 1.8 million. It's only 105,000.
So I'm wrong, man. 10 cents on the dollar.
No, I mean, but when you got that many people paying $17 or whatever the number is, that gets high, doesn't it, Bill?
Yeah, the thing is, right now they've got a big waiting list for season tickets as well. So this is the time to do it, man. You better strike while the iron's hot.
Well, just tell your listeners it's 10 cents on the dollar. When
that guy's going to call and say, "Well, I don't want my tickets anymore. I'm mad." Okay, thanks, and he's just going to pick up the phone, call number one on the waiting list, and boom, sold.
Yeah.
But some schools can't do it, so it's still going to separate. And Tennessee is all in right now, Bill, on spending.
Oh, yeah.
They're all in. So, all right, tell everybody where they can find you and get your show and everything down there.
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of fun every day, 4 to 6. It's The Drive on ESPN 106.7. You can check us online at ESPNAU.com or go to radioalabama.net. And if you don't catch it live, you can check out the podcast. But if you are listening live, come on in and join us.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. 10 cents on a dollar.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, guys. Have a great week.
All right. Yeah, you get 105,000 people to pay 10 cents on the dollar. And then you start to you think those guys are going to give those baseball tickets up? They can go 25% on those.
Sure they can.
They ain't giving those up.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Bryant Bank, because some people are going to need to get some loans at Bryant Bank.
Yeah, well, you go to Bryant Bank, you can get the money, all the money you want, and you can pay that back very slowly. Bryant Bank is a great bank. I've dealt with them for doing some stuff for my grandkids even with them, and they're great people. If you're looking to open up just a business account or 2 accounts or however you want it done, then Bryant Bank can afford you the opportunity to do whatever you want to do. You can bank online around the clock, which is very good for you. Your money's safe. They do a very excellent job in being darn sure that somebody doesn't come in. You got to do a good job too. You got to do a good job on the internet with people trying to get your money, and they're slicker than you know what. So Bryant Bank will be slicker than they are, and they'll do a good job of keeping your money. As I told you yesterday, I had somebody say that they went by and the lady that was there said, "How did you find out about our bank?" And they said, "I heard it on the radio." So hopefully it was inside the locker room. So go by Bryant Bank, and I think that you'll be well pleased.
All right, the phone lines will be open the rest of the show. We've been busy with guests, so we'll open up the phone lines. You guys want to chat? 205-342-9904. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It is the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We got ourselves a situation on the south side of Tuscaloosa, Highway 69 northbound. Before Bobby Miller Parkway, you got an accident blocking the left shoulder. Well, actually, it's blocking all those left lanes, so it looks like only that right lane is going to make a single file line and squeeze on by that. And then double win.
Child'sCountryBuffet.com or call 205-810-8888. The all-new Child's Country Buffet opening soon on Skyland Boulevard. Join us for a meal to remember.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today, the high 86 degrees. Mostly clear tonight, the low 65. Tomorrow sunny with a high at 89. Friday and Saturday hot and dry. Lots of sunshine both days with highs very close to 90. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Roll Tide. The best sports talk, period. Your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. 205-342 9904. Real fast, I'm going to go through the SEC teams. Dad, you tell me whether their fan base is happy with their coaching staff right now, and could they charge that extra 10%? I would say Georgia's an easy one, correct? They could charge whatever, correct?
Correct.
LSU.
I think probably so. I think there would be some grumbling and complaining, but I think there will be people that will grab the tickets if you grumble and complain. So I'd say a weak yes.
Yeah. How about? I think it's probably too early to tell. Texas A&M. I think they wouldn't fight you on it. How about South Carolina?
I think beating Tennessee last year and playing better, having a big win at Kentucky. I would think that there'd be some grumbling. But I think there's a love for that school. You can correct me. That means that the guy that's in line but can't get a ticket, has got decent income. I think there'd be a week plus.
Yeah, I think the no-brainers are Alabama. They can do whatever they want. Missouri right now, I think that guy, they're going to have to try to do some things to hold on to him. I think he's going to be a hot name in coaching. Oklahoma, I'm not sure about. Ole Miss could pretty much do anything. Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas probably could not at this point, right? I mean, they got one foot on banana peel there. Auburn, I think it's shaky right now. Vanderbilt, they ain't doing it regardless. Mississippi State, I heard people complaining about him yesterday after losing his third game to Toledo. They're 1-2. Florida certainly couldn't, and I think Kentucky, I think that guy's getting close to wearing out his welcome there. They could do it in basketball in certain sports, but I think Kentucky football fans are loyal, but I'm not sure where their love for Stoops is.
What I think in Arkansas would happen in football the way it has in basketball, if they could get a big name. I don't want this coach fired. I like him, but if they could get a really big name in football at Arkansas, there would be somebody that didn't spend for basketball that'd be willing to spend for football. I think Arkansas is a hot commodity to find a named coach that would really fill the bill for them, because they've got. Yeah,
they did it in basketball with going and getting John Calipari.
I think that's the best. I think that's the most underachieving place. Now they may be getting a lot of money. They got an athletic director who talks a lot, interviews a lot for jobs, but he also likes to be the boss.
Yeah. So all right, let's get up to the Yellowwood hotline and bring Jason in. Morning, Jason.
What's up, man?
Hey, bud.
Have you found them yet?
Who's that?
Have you found those 3 losses on Ole Miss schedule yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are they? I'll give you one, but what's the other 2?
What's the one you're giving me?
I'm going to give you a 50-50 chance they lose to Georgia.
Well, I think they're going to lose to Georgia, so that's not going to be 50-50. And then they have a chance to lose at South Carolina. That'll be, there's a chance. They could certainly lose at LSU, and they could lose at Arkansas. And so they just need to lose 2 more of those. So that's, they're going to lose Georgia. And then they got a chance at, so between South Carolina, LSU, and Arkansas on the road. And then Lane Kiffin may go down to Florida and lay an egg at the end of the year. So there's about 4 chances there. So he's got Ole Miss. I just need Ole Miss to lose 3 games, and Jason will be my slave for him.
All seriousness, Tom Hart is a great guest.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah.
You're not crazy about president. I am. I'm glad he's coming. You're not crazy about president.
I just don't think, everybody's been so excited about this game. They want to get down. There's going to be, as many people outside the stadium that can get in the stadium. And now the Secret Service and the traffic, and they're probably going to have it going certain directions, and getting in the stadium for people that are going, they're going to have to wand every single person. I just think it causes a lot of problems. For what? Who cares if he's at the game? We want to go watch the Georgia-Alabama game and be able to move around. We don't care that he's taking somebody's box.
Alabama's going to make a fortune off Donald Trump being there.
How?
They're charging like $15 for every single fan that looks up there in the skybox during the game.
How are they going to do that?
They'll do it.
If you look where you got to pay.
But seriously, I understand you got to have nice facilities. Cowboy did, isn't that his name that calls in, Cowboy?
Yeah.
He did bring up a good point. At some point, and yes, I understand 10 cents on the dollar. I get all that. But at what point or what year does this stop, or is it just a new way of college football now?
Well, they're just looking for a way, because they're going to have to revenue share the $22 million, so they're looking a way to. So you got to bring in more money to offset that. You can't just give out $22 million and not bring in more. So they're looking for creative ways to do it. Tennessee can do it right now, but as we've said, but certain teams can't. That's why you're gonna separate.
Good luck to an AD that has a fiery. I'm not going to say any names. That has a fiery women's basketball coach or a women's volleyball. Good luck to them figuring out how they're going to distribute that money. Because I agree with Tom Hart. His analogy was, if my son or daughter is getting paid a $20 allowance for making a good grade, and the other his other son's getting $50, he brings home D's and F's. At some point, what are you going to do with that money?
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
Go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry.
No, you go.
That's Barry talk. That's Barry talking. I think it's Would you like to go back to $15 a month?
No, it's the new world of college athletes now.
Well, I mean,
I'd like to go back to $15 a month.
But true
it'd be
NIL,
a lot less stress. It'd be a lot less stress on coaches.
True NIL is what happened on Monday. I don't know what they got paid, but Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe go to T-Mobile, and they had at least 1,500 people there, and they came there because of what? To see those two guys. So if they charged whatever for everything they signed, that is true NIL, because those guys would demand attention, but that's not coming out of anybody. That's a guy wanting to spend that money there to get this kid's autograph. That's true NIL. We just don't have enough.
You just said it. That's right. Right. That I have no issue with them getting compensated for that right there.
There you go.
That's right.
Thank you,
anyway,
man.
Y'all have a good one.
See you.
Okay.
All right, we'll take this last break and wrap up the show. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. It's a Thursday edition. We'll have recruiting, and then it'll be all things offense with Alabama. We'll look at what Nick Sheridan had to say. We'd love to get you in on the conversation on the Empowerment Strategy and Solutions Hotline. That's 205-342-9904. Or join us on the live stream, and you can add your thoughts, your questions, and your comments there. You're listening to Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier right here on your home for Alabama Sports, Tide 100.9 and 1230 a.m.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We got ourselves a situation on the south side of Tuscaloosa, Highway 69 northbound before Bobby Miller Parkway. You got an accident blocking the left shoulder. Well, actually, it's blocking all those left lanes, so it looks like only that right lane is going to make a single file line and squeeze on by that. And then double.
They bundled their home and auto insurance with Progressive. Touchdown savings, birdie goal.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today. The high 86 degrees. Mostly clear tonight. The low 65. Tomorrow sunny with a high at 89. Friday and Saturday hot and dry. Lots of sunshine both days with highs very close to 90. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside Line. I've got about a minute and a half. We'll get right to the Yellowwood hotline. Bring Rod in. Good morning, Rod.
Hey, Rod.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning, guys. Enjoy the show.
Thanks.
Hey, I was going to ask you, y'all are going to have Tim Brando on Friday. I was wanting to see if y'all could possibly let it be where everybody can call in and talk to him.
Well, what's happening with it is, in order to get him on, it's got to be at 8 o'clock, which is an unusual time for us. I'm just going to tell Sonny probably to take a hike, or get Sonny on at a 7:15. Sonny won't know anyway. But we
can ask him, or he'll take a few phone calls.
We're going to try to make it. We're going to try to make it. We're going to try to get the commercials. But I'll just tell Barry while you're on. We got to get the commercials over with before 8 so we can keep them on a little bit longer.
Yeah, we'll have them on. Rod, Gary's beating you up about making me ask him some tough questions. So I'm certainly going to do it.
Just ask him.
I'm going to ask him some tough questions, yeah.
Nah, you'll throw it.
For the last 30 years, Alabama could be undefeated knocking on the door, and they're still, at the bottom 20.
That's the reason I called him.
Yeah. Good.
We'll find out what he's thinking. We'll make him tell us. Thank you, Rod.
Hey, yes, sir. Thank you. I'll be good.
All right. Yeah, we probably should. We'll see if Brando wants to take some calls to maybe Gary. Let Gary call and talk to him. Gary might call the show that day. All right, that's it for today's show. Gary Harris Show is next, so keep it locked in. Listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.